and maybe struggling with my identity, mourning a little bit about the call and where do I go from here? And thank God I'm going to do the send with Andy Bird, and it's going to be amazing. But I think there's some times when God just comes and searches our souls, and we find ourselves maybe in the dark night of the soul. And I feel like that in my own personal life. This is very difficult for me because I've preached messages over my life and I've lived them and I've fought them. But it's challenging when you've preached them that you would fail in that very message that you preached. And I've had a besetting sin, and I've found it more intense. And I'm standing as a father to ask forgiveness of a generation that I've actually had dreams that my children would live under the of the stuff that I've left them. I'm really scared right here. But I felt that I was to just open up my heart and ask forgiveness. Because the last thing I want to do is offend a generation. Woe to them who offends one of these little ones. I'm not living under like God's going to kill me and beat me up. I know it's hefspah, but at the same time, I don't want to live a lie. And I preached no toleration of Jezebel. And I can only say that I've tolerated. I've watched pornography. And I've agonized over it. And it's not just been once, it's been one of those things that you've cried and you've fasted. And I felt like today I've wondered about this moment my whole life, that I could just say, God, could you break something over a whole generation? Maybe it's okay. That I have a feeling a whole lot of guys in my generation live in deep shame. And we got to move from ministry to reality rather than living in shame and preaching great messages. And I'll never forget, Mike. I hope this is okay, Mike. I'll never forget, I was in 40 days of fasting in Detroit. Then I don't remember exactly what happened. I've kept a short leash with people, but I remember calling you and asking, since I've sinned, and Mike said to me, "Oh, Lou, all day long I've been praying for you, that Joshua the high priest would be put on new robes." And I can't tell you the freedom that I entered into. I felt like I got saved again, and for weeks it was like joy unspeakable and full of glory. Maybe the walls have to come down for the roof to come down. We're praying for the roof to come down, send revival. But maybe if the walls would come down, we would start getting revival. Simply because the roof comes down when the walls come down. And I'm just thinking, I'm just appealing to fathers that would not live a lie. And I'm asking forgiveness today, and I've actually wondered if we could pray today that God would shatter the lie, and we can really become who we are. And I've opened up recently to my own. It's okay, don't do that. I've opened up to my own sons and my own sons. They know me. Part of me just wants them to just honor their dad, but they know my struggles, and I wonder if we really need, I don't want to call it struggle. I don't want to give one bit of excuse to this thing. I want the fear of the Lord. I've been reading this Romans. Do something. A seal of fire that's stronger than all this. Can I share a few more minutes?
Everything. Lou, we don't have time frame except the end of the session, so just soar.
I don't want to give an excuse. I thank God for Brian Kim, who's a spiritual son of mine that I can walk with. He knows me. I don't want to just stay in my failures. And I know people will come up afterwards with ministries. It happens. I got your answer, Lou. I don't know if anybody has my answer, but an outpouring of the Holy Spirit's fire that is so strong. And I just know this, if we just live a lie, we'll never see that. And maybe me sharing this can give you freedom to open up your hearts without feeling that you're disqualified from the ministry, and that we could actually start a revolution of reality where the church doesn't just do this stuff and not really have the heart. I do beg your forgiveness. And I once had a dream in the days of Bill Clinton. And in the dream, I was in bed with Bill Clinton in my underwear. This is very real. And my pastor, Che-On, and all these leaders from America were there, and Pastor Che-On said, Lou, would you stand up and pray for Bill Clinton? He was sleeping in the bed. I stood up. I'm just in my underwear. And I pray this pitiful little prayer. And I run out because of my shame. I woke up and I felt the Holy Spirit speak to me. Neither you nor this nation or the church of this nation has authority over Bill Clinton because it sleeps in the same bed. Would you just lift your hand? I'm just hoping. I did not plan this. I wasn't trying to plan this thing. I didn't want to be here today. I didn't want to go to whatever those meetings are beforehand. The discernment meetings. But maybe as a father, this will give you courage to walk in the light. That freedom can break out. And then the other thing I just want to share is, I want to ask forgiveness. You know, it's been extraordinary ministry. I'm a father. I got 7 kids and 6 grandchildren, 2 on the way. I got great kids. And yet my son and I are talking recently, and we're really being real with one another. I want to encourage fathers and pastors to be real, not hide behind pulpits. And I'm letting my sons know me maybe more, and I've been confronted about issues where, all my kids are awesome, but there's issues of abandonment. And I'm having to look at that. My son recently just spoke to me about things about it, and I think of my son Judah. I love you, Judah. You're an amazing young man. I haven't given you all that you've needed. I realized that a lot of times I'm with sons and daughters, and I face to face, man, I really connect with them. But then they go away, and I never call them ever again. I felt like the Lord said, Lou, it's not just because you don't like phone calls. It's because you've got issues that your sons need you. I want to just pray for fathers. I pray for fathers here today, that God, we would not abandon our sons and treat them, Lord, that we could just fling them off. Lord, and please don't expect necessarily, if you've touched me before, that you're going to get a phone call tomorrow. I probably got thousands to call. But I just want to just say, forgive us for not connecting. And I pray for a revolution of fathers that will reach and touch sons and multiply them out, not just for ministry, but for heart. I don't know. I've just opened up my heart to you, and I'm in this transition, and I'm trying to find my way. And I'm finding that ministry is not the thing that's going to fulfill me. It's going to be real relationships and
this is not an issue of a sin. This is an issue of transparency, openness. And I believe that we're not talking about something specific. We're talking about many things that has hindered the body from being the family that the Lord wanted it to be.
I want to talk about you, Lou, for a second. Because Lou lived in Kansas City, part of our leadership team, for about 6-7 years, something like that. And Lou we had very open relationship, and he would call me sometimes, hey, you're my priest and my pastor, I want to tell you. And we had, that was always sweet but real as well. And there's a big difference between somebody having a besetting sin and they give into it, and somebody that has something hitting them and they push back and they push back and they push back. And I've watched you, Lou, because you don't want to minimize anything.
I don't.
I know, but but at the same time, I'm not going to let you exaggerate it either, because I know the truth of what you're talking about. And he would push back, and he would come with tears and tell me he saw commercials on TV and saw images and would come to me the next day weeping because he didn't turn the channel on the commercial. I said, Lou, I love you for that, but that's not exactly the same thing as A and B. And he goes, it is to me. It is to me, and I'm not okay with that. And he said, I've done a little more here and there, and I'm not minimizing it, but
because I've known darkness, Mike.
Yes, I know, we've talked, but it is real as well. And there's a big difference between somebody having a besetting sin and they give into it, and somebody that has something hitting them and they push back and they push back and they push back. And I've watched you, Lou, because you don't want to minimize anything.
I don't.
I know, but but at the same time, I'm not going to let you exaggerate it either, because I know the truth of what you're talking about. And he would push back, and he would come with tears and tell me he saw commercials on TV and saw images and would come to me the next day weeping because he didn't turn the channel on the commercial. I said, Lou, I love you for that, but that's not exactly the same thing as A and B. And he goes, it is to me. It is to me, and I'm not okay with that. And he said, I've done a little more here and there, and I'm not minimizing it, but
because I've known darkness, Mike.
Yes, I know, we've talked, but it is very different than somebody who just gets in a stream and goes with it. I saw you with integrity. You don't call it integrity, I do. Pushing back, confessing, weeping. Lou, you're the real deal, and I just don't want